Podcast, episode number 147.
This episode of the Self-Publishing Podcast is brought to you by 99 Designs, the online marketplace that helps you get outstanding book cover designs at an affordable price. Start your custom design today at 99designs.com/SPP and enjoy a free Power Pack upgrade valued at $99.
Welcome to the Self-Publishing Podcast, where if you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. And now, here are your hosts, three guys who smell like teen spirit, Johnny, Sean, and Dave.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Self-Publishing Podcast, the podcast that follows three full-time authors as we attempt to change the face of indie publishing. Join us and our trailblazing guests as we shove aside boundaries, freely experiment, and occasionally screw up. I'm Johnny B. Truant, and my co-hosts are Sean Platt and David Wright. And so it's Friday. This is an exciting Friday. This is fun. I think we're going to get on to topic pretty quick today. So those of you who normally skip to the 30-minute mark, I will mention. Don't do that today. I will mention just before we begin that. Just so I don't forget that if we're down to the last minutes last days for the Colonist Summit. If you want to join us. We're down to 3 remaining slots, so if you're interested in joining us in Austin, Texas for a couple of days, April 18th and 19th, all the details are on sterlingandstone.net/colonist. It is sterlingandstone.net, not Self-Publishing Podcast, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know.
All right. Do you want to do something cool before we get into our announcements?
Yeah, I've been really excited about this particular.
Yeah, and we have to cut Sean off on this too because Sean and I had a call where I was like, "Do you have it'll take 10 minutes, literally 10 minutes." Sean used 8 of those minutes with me cutting him off to talk about this.
Yeah,
he was in a rush.
Okay, everybody wants me to shut up about this. I've already talked about it to Dave and to Johnny and to my whole family. I think the only one of all these people who's interested is my daughter Haley.
I'm interested. I'm just not interested. Like I get to the point where I'm interested enough.
Yeah. So, but I've loved this. So everybody knows I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks and stuff lately since like last September, and once a month or so I listen to one of these. They're called the Great Courses, and they have them on Audible. And they're like college lectures. And
I was totally interested in this. You and I had an hour conversation.
Yeah, I love that he's taking our we don't want to hear about it any fucking more as we're not interested.
Right. Okay. It's interesting, but it's just like shut up already. So I've listened to one on myth and human history and another one on fiction storytelling. They're cool. They're really, really cool. But this last one that I just finished is my favorite. Not only great course, but it's probably my favorite thing I've listened to all year so far. I really, really loved it, and it's called. Hold on, let me get the exact title. The Secret Life of Words: English Words and Their Origins. And it's an 18-hour course, and it's just fascinating. And I think probably pretty much everyone listening to this would just love it because, and that's a very broad generalization, I realize, but we all make our living or want to make our living with words, right? Words are ideas.
Maybe you do. I'm holding out on that dream job as stripper.
Well, someday.
Someday he'll be a stripper.
When I gain more weight.
Remember the Friends where Danny DeVito's a stripper? It's awesome. So it's really, really fascinating, and I don't want to go on and on and on about it, but if you have an Audible subscription and you're already a member, it is so worth. I think it's normally like $45 or something, but it's 1 credit. Just use your credit for it.
This episode of the Self-Publishing Podcast is also brought to you by Audible.com, the best.
It's really, really great.
Beam episode 1 for free.
Yeah, it's 36 lectures, and each lecture is 30 minutes or 15 if you listen to it at twice speed. But it talks about like taboo words and slang and old words. Did you know that the F word is from the 1600s? Like that's so much older than I expected. It talks about this whole part.
Fuck that.
There's this whole section that I just really, really loved about ums and ahs and wells and so's and those words, and they're called discourse markers, and how they're not actually fillers as many people think, but they're ways for us to emotionally manage a conversation. And I'm just so I love language. I love language a lot, and I don't just love the precision of words, but I love the choice of one word over another, and I want to listen to this again. I just had so much fun with it. So
Am I alone? Am I alone here in thinking that giving Sean this book is like, I don't know, handing heroin to a drug addict, like a big box of heroin?
Right,
Like,
box
all
of
you need is-
heroin.
Yeah, a box of heroin, because it comes in boxes.
Uh-huh.
That's how I've always seen it. Just stacked high, right?
Yeah,
And
of
they're
course.
labeled heroin, like right
Yes.
across.
May cause problems. Surgeon
Yeah.
General's warning.
We're driving to California this summer. We're gonna listen to this on the way. I'm not even kidding. Like, it's awesome.
I have
Oh,
this
your
picture
family's gonna jump
of,
out of the car.
I have this picture of Sean's family dynamic because he's fooled us because we only get it through his filter. So he's fooled us into believing that everybody's totally on board with Operation Sean, whatever it is. Yes, Sydney wants to listen to all the books. Haley wants to have all this stuff read to her, and everybody wants to listen to it. And I have a feeling that they're all secretly like, oh God, should we tell him that we don't want to listen to this
No,
40
we've
fucking
seen-
hour audiobook?
We've seen his family in action. They are like,
Yeah, but
they
he's
are
got
that
him
happy.
scared.
Yeah, I bet Sean and his family, when they're on a road trip, they fucking sing songs. I bet they
we
do
do
that in
sing
the car.
songs.
Oh,
Yeah, we totally
fuck
sing songs.
you!
I've done that.
No. I have never done that. Will never do that. If you see me and my family driving down the street singing a car, call the police or something wrong.
That's your
Seriously,
distress
what would
code.
you rather do? Complain? I got pulled over for speeding.
I don't talk while I'm driving.
Oh my god.
Don't talk. Daddy's behind the wheel.
I'm
Don't
in the
talk.
zone.
You know that road rage? He invented it. They just call it, except in Dave, they just call it rage. Do you have something rageful to go today or no?
Something cool. Well, something cool, something not cool. House of Cards back on Netflix today. Have not yet watched it, so. Something not cool. Leonard Nimoy passed away today. So.
Oh, I didn't know.
didn't
that.
know that. That
Yeah, I know you
sucks.
two don't know shit, but yeah, he passed away.
I do know that dress is gold and white, bitch. That's what I
I
know.
love
Straight
that Dave was pitching a moment of silence on a podcast that Sean's on.
Yeah. Well, Sean paused to breathe. That's his sign of respect.
That's as close as I get.
My something cool is it isn't actually the first time I've run across it, but I ran across it again, and it sort of reminded me. It knocked the balls loose in my head or whatever. Is we got Big Hero 6 on DVD because it just came out on DVD. And have you guys both seen that?
Yeah,
No,
it's awesome.
My son did. He went with some other kids. I did not go that time. I wasn't awake, so I wanted to see it.
You wasn't awake. You want to go to a
One in
movie?
the afternoon.
No.
That's way too early.
Oh, that's so awesome.
The reason that I think it's cool is because I just continue. I know that's branded as Disney, but let's be honest, that's Pixar. Like, come on, man,
No,
Disney.
it's not.
It's under Disney's brand, but it's like executive producer John Lasseter.
Yeah,
You're
I get what
gonna
Johnny's
you're gonna
saying.
get into this discussion with a couple of Pixar snobs here. So
Well, but whatever then.
I hear what he's saying. It's John Lasseter. John Lasseter runs both animation studios now. You can totally feel the Pixar influence in the last couple Disney films.
Well, I guess I'm going to like not that Pixar has that long of a legacy, but like legacy Pixar is and I guess I didn't really get this until I was watching, like we saw one of the Madagascar movies with the kids, and we saw the Penguins of Madagascar movie, and like those are kind of fun family animated movies, but they're so disposable. They're just like,
Yeah, right.
that was fun, and you move on. And I'm just so impressed by how a movie like that, and just about all the Pixar movies, is just such. It's a really, Dave, you should watch it. It's really really good.
I will.
The
it's,
attention to detail is magical.
And it's just really really solid storytelling. Like I could see it through the eyes of a storyteller, since this is what we do, and it's like you really care. Like it's a moving movie, and it's a stand up and cheer sort of a movie too, and it's just so cool. So it was interesting to see that again and just be impressed. The one of the things that I said to these guys, I don't think I said it to Dave because he hadn't seen it, is the movie is set in San Francisco, or whatever, which is a hybrid of San Francisco
So happy.
and Tokyo, and they never explain it at all. And I just love how ballsy and confident that is, that you're gonna mash up two cities and have like Japanese architecture on the Golden Gate Bridge and these very Tokyo sorts of things in the midst of an American city. And a lot of the people are Japanese heritage, obviously, that are in the movie.
This is an existing comic book.
Okay, I didn't know that. So,
but the fact that they did it so unapologetically is definitely awesome.
I was waiting for them to apologize, or not to apologize, but to explain it.
Yeah, they never felt a need to do that, which is just, it's confident storytelling, and their attention to detail is really, really just awe-inspiring. I know they tell this story in Creativity Inc., but for Monsters Inc., this is just, I think, the finest example of the detail and love that they put into their films. That sequence in Monsters Inc. where Boo is running around the room and she's
oh yeah, the first one. Okay.
The first one, yeah. She's running around the room all crazy. They just got back from the sushi restaurant and she's running everywhere and she knocks over this big pile of CDs, and there's 90 of them. and Mike Wazowski says, "Oh, those were in alphabetical order." Right? Do you know this part?
No, I don't remember.
All right. Well, anyway, they really were in alphabetical order, and every single one had a cover. They made CD covers for every single one of those CDs.
That's something I would do.
Right. You see it for like a fraction of a second. She bats the stack, and they go everywhere. And those were in alphabetical order, but they really were in alphabetical order, and there really was a cover for each of the CDs in the stack. Like, that's just, DreamWorks is very hurry up and render. And yes, like, I love Kung Fu Panda. I think Kung Fu Panda is great. But it's just, like Johnny said, it's not enduring in the same way that
they're like classics. And I remember feeling this the first. I suppose I would have felt it with Toy Story, but I remember The Incredibles was where it kind of really hit me. And I was like, there were long periods of time where I not really, but I kind of forgot that it was animated. And you just start seeing, and they talk about that in Creativity Inc. I think that's a good read for anybody who likes this show.
We should transition, but I almost pitch we do a Creativity Inc. show one day.
I'm never going to get through that audiobook, though. Like, I'm going to have to read it.
Oh.
I don't like the audiobook narrator. He sounds very a little too folksy for that read for me.
Have you listened to it at twice speed?
Maybe I should.
It helps a lot.
All right. So do you want to transition then?
Yeah.
And when I say transition, I mean let's go from being men to women.
Yes. I've been waiting.
Yeah, I've been excited about today's show for a while. I guess if you're not on the Realm and Sands list, we should probably talk about. We need to set it up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't know exactly what you mean by set it up. Do you mean what it was that we did?
Well,
what
right,
was
because
the
we haven't talked
Beyonce?
about this at all. Yeah, the Beyonce. So we haven't talked about this at all. Realm and Sands, but all of us, Dave too, all of us yesterday launched a book. It's called Invasion, and it's this one right here. So I have the hardback, which I'm totally in love with.
Beautiful.
Isn't that nice? So really, by the way, I think I mentioned this before, but I think that hardbacks should almost always have gloss. I've decided that now. There are a few exceptions, but the hardback I think definitely need. Now the paperback is flat, and I think that this is the way to go. I think that gloss for hardback, and I think that paperback matte. Anyway, go ahead.
They look almost the same in the picture. But,
yeah, I guess you probably can't really tell, but there's light glinting off of one of them. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But so we didn't talk about this at all. We didn't talk about it to our lists. We didn't.
And for us, with our motor mouths, that's a lot.
Right. This has been. I mean, the Platinum readers got it. I don't know 3 weeks ago. Is that right?
I think so.
Pretty much when we finished. We came up with this plan late last year, and we called it the Beyonce. Because Beyonce got into, she did this, basically she just dropped an album last year, and she had all the videos.
With no preamble, it was just like, boom, preamble. Here it is.
Yeah, but she's no Beck.
Right, no. She's no Beck. I'm going to let you finish. So that was really cool, and we thought, We want to do that. We want to try something. We want to call it the Beyonce, and we're going to do something where we just write it ahead of time. We don't talk about it on the show, and we just put it out there. And at the time that we first kind of were originally architecting this idea, we thought it would be a Kindle Select property, that we would kind of lean into the algorithms and see what we could do without a lot of fanfare. We would use our list, but really that's the only vehicle, and there wouldn't even be a lot of early launch stuff. We would just put it out.
The reason for that too is that we've been very, very let's go wide. Like that's been our line from the beginning, and I've called Select the abusive boyfriend because we keep going back to him. Like swear I won't hit you this time, baby.
But he's nice.
And so it's very.
He buys us pretty things.
Well, right.
He doesn't always hit me.
He's so
and
he's always
so
sorry.
much.
So okay, that's enough of that. So the point is that we always like the idea of going wide, but then there are a bunch of people who are talking to us about you gotta go Select, like
I made
$32
million last month in Select.
And it's very tempting, especially since adding the Kindle Unlimited. Yes, you make less, but those borrows count as sales in the algorithms. Right, like there's a lot. And if you did like a BookBub ad, you can lower it to 99 cents and keep it at 70% royalty, et cetera, et cetera. So we wanted to take advantage of sort of the running start that Select gives you, because people can borrow it, which is an easier transaction, doesn't cost them any extra money, and you get the algorithm boost. So we were kind of like hating ourselves a little bit, but it felt like, why are we fighting with one hand tied behind our back? We should do this. So that's the mentality we went into this with, and then I'll let you resume, Sean.
Yeah, so we had decided, we're gonna series books clearly do a really good job at moving units, and so we thought, okay, we want to do a series, and we wanted to go to a more popular genre. And it was very intentional. So we decided we would write 3 books. They'd all be alien invasion. They'd come out one month, right after another, and boom, boom, boom. And this is so we've alluded a few times on the show as to how we delayed Beam. Right, the Beam keeps getting delayed. Well, this is why we delayed the Beam, because we wanted to write
one of the reasons.
One of the reasons. And we wanted to delay it so that we could write, because we're not just writing one book here. The Beyonce is not one book. It's one book, but it's going to be followed by another book and another book after that. And
that's not the end of the series. That's just the end of this phase of it.
Right, and probably around book 3, CI will come in with, not at the same time, but I mean in the timeline of the story that we're telling, CI will come in with, like a sideways story that takes place in the same world, and that's kind of cool that we're going to, share our world between Roman Sands and the Inkwell. So that's really cool. Now, so that's all the background. That's what we did. As of yesterday, we launched. It did not end up being a Kindle Select title. We actually went wide with this one. We launched the Beyonce all at once on Kindle, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, and Apple. And it was our widest launch so far. And it was really awesome. So that's all background, and then now there's all the stuff, the takeaways that we'll want to talk about.
And that was a tough decision to make too. Like the reason that I gave that the preamble about we decided to reluctantly go Select is we really kind of warred with the idea of, do we want to, because it was a chance to kind of put our money where our mouth is. It was a chance to say, okay, well, we believe in the franchise. We believe in the marketability of this title because it's a more popular genre. We love unicorn western, but it's not something people immediately recognize and will pick up because they're like, what the hell is this? But Invasion is. And so the idea of going wide with that was at once kind of exciting because it was a chance to see what we could do on other platforms, but it was also intimidating. It was not a decision we made lightly, I guess. So Sean just sort of said we decided to go wide, but it was not a light decision. And maybe this is
it was a hard decision. We had to really wrestle with it because we basically engineered something work to harmonize really well with algorithms, and then we decided, yeah, that's a short-term gain, but we had to be true to ourselves ultimately, and that meant thinking long-term. And
maybe this is a good point to mention this is not advice, this show.
Yeah, right. Okay. And we really want to hammer this because there's a lot of things that we're going to talk about today. And they're just flat out aren't advice. This is very unique to our experience. Some of the tactics and some of the strategies here really are unique to our situation and to our outcomes that we desire. So I caution everybody listening to this to just really, you're gonna have good ideas. This is that kind of show. We've teased this show for a few weeks because we're
gonna be talking about it for a long time too.
Right. So this is kind of day one of the Beyonce, and you'll see it over the next few months. We're going to keep checking in. We're going to report how we're doing, but this is kind of the core idea behind this podcast is that it's our experience right from the very, very beginning, since before Johnny wrote Fat Vampire, and CI had our serial stuff going down every week. At that time, it was very much, we're going to get together once a week and we're going to talk about what is and isn't working for us. And that's very much what this is. And while we're really excited to talk about what is and isn't working and why we made the decisions that we made with the stuff that we're doing right now and in the next few months, I think it's very important to say that, yes, you're going to get ideas, and that's why we're talking about it out loud. We want to help in that way. But it's kind of dangerous because there's especially one element, and we'll talk about it in a few minutes, but there's one element here that we really are kind of nervous to talk about out loud because people, no matter how much we caution against it, there are going to be some people who do it the wrong way.
They're doing it anyway, though, so I wouldn't even worry about that.
Well, yeah, but there are some people who hadn't even thought of this yet, and then they're going to be like, oh, I can be an asshole too. And it pisses in the pool. And we don't want anyone pissing in the pool, and I'm afraid, and I know Dave and Johnny, but Johnny said it 92 times in the last week. Oh, but what if? And he's right. There is a chance here that people are going to hear this wrong and do the wrong thing. So we just want to caution that as we. And
I also want to say that I think for 98% of people considering Kindle Unlimited at the moment, that's probably the way to go. And if this were a Collective Inkwell book, I probably would have pushed to go Kindle Unlimited. I don't think I would have been brave enough to go wide.
And right, and if this had been a Collective Inkwell book, we would have done Select, and that's okay because.
But there's a lot of sci-fi and post-apocalyptic authors that are just cleaning up on Kindle Unlimited. I mean, you could just look at the top 20 list, and they're all making bank, and they're doing very well. So keep that in mind as well when you're considering your options.
Yeah, and I would just add as a suffix to that I think episode 144 or 145, I don't remember, called "Using Amazon Instead of Using You" or something like that. Yes. Listen to that. Because if you use Unlimited and Select, don't use it, and don't make your strategy. Here's my book. You need to have an exit strategy, because I've said this a few times, and it's kind of ridiculous, but it's not as unrealistic as people being good for a change, right, Dave?
Well, that never happens.
But Amazon could change the game. They could stop selling books. Now, do I think that's going to happen? No. But Kobo, Barnes & Noble, they're not going to stop selling books. That's what they do. Amazon does everything.
You don't even have to use that dramatic of an example, though, because just a year ago, or maybe a year and a half, a little bit more, Kindle Unlimited, or not Kindle Unlimited, but KDP Select it did decrease its value. It was shit for a while.
Yeah, that's true.
It could happen again for other reasons. So it really is watching the marketplace. And I think what you guys did, I think it's great long term. Short term, I think most people, depending on the genre, though, would probably go the other way. But I love that you guys are bold enough to do it. Yeah, and building your list.
I think Dave's right. I think probably anywhere from 95 to 98 out of 100 authors, if you're new, if you only have a couple books out there, if you're new to this, if you're in your first year or two doing it, then probably, especially if you're in heavy genre, right? Select is probably the right thing to do right now. But again, it's all outcome. If short-term revenue is your number one goal, then that's still it. But for us, it's just not our number one goal. We
Nor
really,
has it ever happened. Nor has it ever been.
Right. Nor has it ever been. What is our number one goal right now is optimization, and so I guess that's a pretty good transition to talk about. But before we get into that, do we want?
Well, hold on a second. Before you say anything, Sean, I want to know about how 12 is going. Going well, Dave?
12 is going well. We're finishing up the last chapter now, and like I said last
you're
week,
fucked because you're never going to be able to get a cover for it.
yes, you would think that, but that's not the case. Originally, I was
Holy shit!
Originally, I was going to do the cover. I had this beautiful idea that I want to do. I'm actually juggling between two ideas now, which I think is a good thing.
When you say a beautiful idea, you mean like a child being drawn and quartered?
Yes, exactly. But even more beautiful. Yes. But I have these I have these two ideas, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our friends at 99designs.com/SPP, and I'm going to present these two ideas that I have and see what their designers come up with. Because just like our Dark Crossings book, that was a cover that I had this great idea for, but I could not make it work. Everything I did absolutely sucked.
Well, whoever did that cover for Dark Crossings collection was fantastic. It's too bad that wasn't 99 Designs.
That was 99 Designs.
Oh my God!
And it is a beautiful cover, and it looks even better in print. Oh God! But yes, so we're hoping for the same thing with 12, and that is an example of us putting our money where our mouths are. We don't just talk about 99 Designs being great. We've used them several times, and I'm trusting them with one of my favorite books that I've written yet, with Sean, of course, co-written. And this cover, their designers will take a crack at it, and we'll see what they come up with. And worst part is, if they can't come up with an idea, then I've got nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose.
And then I'll
So
just
start
do
your
it
custom.
myself, crayon.
Right, because you have nothing to lose. So start your custom design today at 99designs.com/SPP, and using that link, we'll get you the free Power Pack upgrade, which is valued at $99, and will give you on average 185% more exposure, more entries in your design contest. It gives you more to choose from. So 99designs.com/SPP.
And hopefully this time next week I'll have some covers for you all to see, so you can actually see the process in action. I think that'll be fun.
There you go. So continuing on, Sean was talking about optimizing. I think you were going to go off on a thing there.
Yeah. So
and just to keep in mind, I can definitely change this, but I did title it about selling on Amazon, Nook, and Kobo. But we'll go into that.
Yeah. So I think that our number one goal this year has been optimization. And if you look at our timelines across the company, we've always had both long-term goals. We've always put them before short-term goals, and we've also really followed our hearts and our creative desires. I don't think it's any secret that with CI, our major creative driving force there is Dave's desire. We do the things that he wants to do, and that's kind of the engine there. And with Realm and Sands, I think that our driving engine is balls. Like, what do we want to do?
Johnny's balls.
And I think that creatively we really get off on that. Can we write a book in 30 days? Well, let's find out. I think that that's really, really fun. Can we write a book on
Unicorn Western?
Yes, right. No, and I think I wonder what the world would be like, or what our creative world would be like, if we hadn't started with Unicorn Western, because it really just kind of set the tone for what we would do. And so we've always done what we want to do, and we've really turned kind of almost a blind eye.
Taken a lot of criticism about it too, honestly. Like
I'm sorry, I have to speak my mind though.
We've priced for the long term. We've written cross genre for the long term. We've written stuff that people say, well, why don't you do something more commercially popular? Again, looking at the long term.
Right.
Can
And
I say I want to interject something about criticism here? I was talking to Carl Sinclair earlier, and he was telling me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know it was, but he's talking about cricket for like 5 hours. But anyway, he was telling me a story about he had a book that came out, Sixth Cycle, that came out around the time Yesterday's Gone did, and he got from some indie writers, he got criticism for the fact that he and Darren had used professional cover designer, and they had gotten it
What?
edited. Well,
What?
they got criticism basically because they invested a lot of money in it, and basically the people that
Oh, because they
criticized,
treated it like a business?
yeah, the people that criticized it said basically they weren't being indie authors anymore, and and I was like, that is the dumbest shit I ever heard. So yeah, I think there's some people out there that they feel like there is an unfair, like you're basically buying success, I think was the words he used. They were saying like if
No,
if
you're
you,
buying eyeballs,
no,
assholes.
yeah, if you invest money in your product, that somehow you're gaming the system, and that's bullshit, because that is what professional writers do. They invest in the product, and it doesn't make, investing in a good editor and a good book cover. It just makes, if your book sucks, it still sucks. It doesn't buy shit. It allows you to compete with people that are
You won't
there.
have traction. You're buying access to traction is what you're buying, and that's just smart. Look, anybody who's criticizing spending money on a cover or an editor, their odds of success are severely diminished, and it's just true. And
I can guarantee that they will never find success.
people are not going. Well, it can happen, but
Or
maybe
happiness.
stacking
No,
against
I'm more
it.
likely to smile than that's to happen.
So I don't even know where to go with that. That's just idiotic. I mean, for us, we've done the opposite. The way we think about it. I think Dave desperately wants to think about it this way too, but he has a little more fear, right? And Johnny and I are we're almost stupid with the amount of lack of fear that we have, right? So we're a good balance together. But okay, I'll talk personally. The way I see it is that we're buying very cheap stock in ourselves right now. So the more that we do to think long term and to be known as storytellers and to spend money that we're not making back yet on editing and on covers and on ourselves, and the stories we choose to take our time writing, that's cheap stock, because someday our catalog is going to be worth a lot more than it is now. And right now they're penny stocks, and they're not going to always be penny stocks. And it's the same with Dave. When I say let's write whatever you want, Dave, that's because I believe in Dave, and I feel like I'm buying very cheap stock in Dave.
You're
And
the one.
so whatever, people don't want to buy covers, and like that is such a broken mentality. That's like saying, yeah, I don't need to buy studio time. I could just record, on, with a tape recorder in my bedroom, and my album's going to sound good enough to sell. No, it's not, dickface. It's just not. You have to.
I was thinking about this, and there is, there's two things here that I can understand if somebody doesn't have the money to do it yet, and they're going to do their best, and that's one thing. That's a different thing.
But to criticize other people
Yes.
who are doing it the right way, that's wrong. That's a mindset that I can't understand it. I'm with you. If you can't do it, that's okay to say, this is the very best I can do right now. I'm working 2 jobs, and I'm writing in the 25 minutes that I have each night when I put my kids to bed. And all I can do is, type over a stock photo that I paid $10 for. Like, I'm okay with that, totally. But to criticize somebody else who went out and got a pro cover, the Sixth Cycle cover is awesome, and to criticize that, I think it's wrong. Anyway, I don't mean to digress, but basically, we've really over 2012, 2013, 2014. That was really about getting our work out there, building ourselves as building muscle. We have a lot of storytelling muscle at this point, and that was really important. And when we were closing out our year last year, and we said, okay, what is 2015 really about for us? And it became, okay, it's about optimization. Now we have our library, we have our catalog, and we need to go through these titles one by one across everything, through Lexi and Guy and CI, Smart Artists, LOL, Realm and Sands. Everything needs to be evaluated per title, product descriptions, categories, keywords, cover, everything. And so we were doing that. But what makes Invasion unique is that it was a new title. And so it was our first chance to pre-optimize, right? So normally we're going and we're saying, okay, we wrote this stuff and it's not really optimized. We basically spent a couple years just getting shit out as fast as we can. We basically were writing, publishing, and repeating, right? And now we're optimizing. Now all that stuff's out there and we're making it work for us so we don't have to work as hard. And so Invasion was a chance to optimize ahead of time.
That's for Johnny, not you.
And so I think that you know, we did that. We did it with the cover. We did it with the story that we wanted to tell. We did it with the way that story was going to be told. And we could break down each one of those things. So where do you, I know I don't want to ramble. You guys, where do you want to start on any of those things? And then we need to talk about the benefits that we got from this actual launch so far and what we expect. So there's a lot to talk about here.
I'm not sure where to begin on that, but it's yeah, I don't know where to go with that. You were talking about optimizing. You'd better close that loop because I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, so the first thing to note here is that we decided to write. We've never really cared about how many books are we going to sell on this project, right? So Axis is a really good example or actually Dream Engine's an even better example. We started with Dream Engine, and it was about can we write this book in 30 days? What genre is it going to be? All of that, and never was any part of the consideration when we kind of pitched it to the group watching us, was it what genre is going to sell? Like that was never ever part of the equation. I think the closest we came to asking for any kind of leniency on what people would vote for was, hey, we'd like it if we didn't swear in this book because we want to read it to our kids. I think that was as close as we came to kind of any guidance or ask. And then immediately after that, we wrote Axis, which was, we don't really care if this sells. This is a story that we want to tell, and a way that we want to tell it. We want to write something that's a little more literary, that's a diversion from the other stuff that we've been writing. But with Invasion, it was specifically, we want to write a book that is already optimized before we even start. So what kind of a book sells really well? Well, page turners. And CI writes page turners. Like CI is very good at that kind of rhythm. We never really focused on that at Realm and Sands ever. And I think one of the things that drives Realm and Sands also is trying new things, really stretching our storytelling muscles. We want to tell this kind of story. Let's try it. And so it was a great idea. Here we want to pre-optimize something, and how do we do that? And what kind of new story can we tell? And so we decided, well, we want to write a page turner, because page turners, we can, hopefully we can write them fast. We can write them well. They can be exciting. They're the kinds of things people talk about. And so, okay, check, we're going to write a page turner. And then we need to decide what genre we want our page turner to be in. And so if we're pre-optimizing here, we want to go with a popular genre. And so we chose Alien Invasion, which is a very popular genre. Dave and I have been kicking around the idea of doing Yesterday's Gone, spoiler alert, is kind of an alien invasion story. But we've been talking about doing something that's kind of sideways from that for a while, just because.
Right, this came from our story bank.
Right. So the Invasion was actually one of the pitches that Dave and I gave to 47 North when we pitched them, when they picked up Monstrous and Z21 34. We had 6 pitches for them, and this was one of those 6 pitches. And so it's been, it's
yet another story I stole from Dave.
That 3 now?
You bastard. The beam.
I think it's 4.
Everything.
Unicorn Western, Fat Vampire, the Beam, and this would be the 4th. Yes.
Fantastic.
I will say Invasion was one of those stories, though, that I never loved the idea of writing. It seemed very difficult for me to write the first part of it. The next part and like where it goes from here, like I want to write that part, but the first part
You
it
can't
was
write the part where there's hope.
yeah. That was intimidating to me to write the hope part. So I was glad that you guys did run with it actually, and now it gives me an excuse to write in the world, after the hope is all gone, and then I can be like,
Can we just rush? Can we just hurry? Can we just skip ahead to the part where all hope is gone?
Yes.
I think that a good way to look at it too is what Sean talked about, setting the stage and doing the right publishing and repeating before looking at this pre-optimizing is probably a good way to look at this. Is we have a lot of stuff here at Sterling and Stone, and because of what we've done as we talk about in write, publish, repeat, it's all to greater or lesser degrees, depending on how optimized we are, interconnected. So we're doing more and more of that, and we still haven't gotten to the autoresponder show, which we'll do largely because we had to reinvent it.
So awesome.
And that's going to be a whole thing too.
That'll be a
But that
9-hour
ties
show.
everything together too. It'll be a multi-parter. We'll do a marathon.
Just like the autoresponder.
But that will tie everything together too. So what we've done is to lay a bunch of kindling everywhere, and we needed an accelerant. So in order to light a match on this, we needed to do a bunch of things to start that process moving. Once we had gone wide, we needed to start lighting the match, basically. And so a lot of what we've done in the first part of this year, and some stuff that we aren't quite ready to talk about, is how do we light the match? So Invasion was one of these, something that we knew could catch fire with the right push behind it. Another is we did the BookBub promo for the Beam last month, and actually yesterday, the same day as Invasion launch day, I did a BookBub promo for the 6th book, the full bundle for the Fat Vampire box set, because Ed Robertson said he had done that with his full, like the entire series for his fantasy novel series, and it hung. It's got sticky in the algorithms and hung in there, and we wanted to get a lot more eyes. Let me divert just a little bit before coming back to Invasion, because we haven't even mentioned that yet. The BookBub promo for Fat Vampire did really well. The highest I saw it get in the Kindle store was 42, which I've never cracked top 50 before, so that's pretty nice. And it did really, really well on the other platforms as well, and that's one of the great things about BookBub. I don't know ranking in Kobo. Mark sent me something saying that it was very, very high in Canada. I don't remember, like number 2 or number 1 in. I'd have to look. Sorry, Mark, I don't have it in front of me. But I was watching my. I can watch the Barnes and Noble because that's U.S. and it got to number 8 in the whole store, the whole Nook store. It was number 8. And so
awesome.
And it did really well on Amazon. So when we have 2,000 in a day, purchases of that, then that is a way of we optimized front matter and we optimized back matter in that to send people to our list. God, this is just like I'm opening loops, and I could go down any one of these
so much
trails.
to talk about here.
But those we're getting a lot of good additions to our mailing list, like a really nice inflow from the promo, because we optimized front matter for Fat Vampire that will ultimately flow to other things. And the same is true of Invasion, where we optimized front and back matter in that too. And so because we've tied everything together, then lighting the match in these various ways is a way of lighting everything on fire. I mean, this touches Unicorn Western, it touches Dream Engine, not directly yet, but it will once everything is tied together. So I just wanted to go down that road a little bit. Oh, I should mention, just because I feel I should, that after the BookBub promo for Fat Vampire, I did a Buck Books promo for that, and my God, does Steve from Buck Books have a giant dick? Have you heard that? That's the way that he gets paid. We're supposed to talk about how big his dick is. So there you go, Buck Steve.
Okay.
I just hear these things. This is what he told us to say. Consider me paid.
It's
yeah,
huge.
I think that this is. I mean, Johnny's right. There's so much here. Our list is smarter than it's been, and we're just about to implement the very, very, very long in production autoresponder.
The
with phase
first
1,
part of the
which
very,
right,
very
which will
yes.
be the Realm and Sands one. But okay, so where were we there on just basically on pre-optimizing it? We had picked the page turning that we wanted. We had picked the genre that we knew was good. For traffic, basically for a lot of traffic. And then we got our cover before the book was ready to go, so we made sure that it was commercial.
So we do the pre-order on all the sites. We did pre-order.
Right, and I mean you can go to 99 Designs when you have a concept for your cover, and you explain what your cover is going to be, and you have that cover in front of you while you're writing. That's actually a pretty good way to write. We've done that a couple times now. And the next project that we have another project coming out next month, which we're not quite ready to talk about, but we'll talk about soon. And it's another pre-optimized project where we had the cover ahead of time, and it became part of the story. And
he's not talking about the sequel to Invasion. He's talking about a totally different.
This is something else, right? This is something different, something else. But really, every step of this was pre-optimized, and I want to pause here and give another one of my warnings. And I'm sorry if these are redundant, but I think it's important to say that if the wrong way to go about writing your next book is to go and say, okay, well, what genre is popular? I'm gonna write a page turner in Alien Invasion, say, because that's what they did and that's awesome. Like, no, it's not, because if you don't actually want to write an alien invasion story, or you don't actually want to write a page turner, then that's not the right thing to do. For us, we had wanted to write a page turner for a while, and we already had this existing story that we wanted to tell. So it was a way of taking our desires and our assets and kind of putting them together. And if it hadn't been Invasion, it would have been something else. We would have found something else because we've got a very, very deep story garden. We have a lot to pull from, and we have a lot of things that we want to do and a lot of different kinds of stories we want to tell. But you don't want to this isn't about chasing categories or keywords or anything like that. It's really about thinking what your desired outcomes are, and then looking for the right opportunities that are in alignment with your outcomes. So at the risk of being really redundant there. So you want to talk about why we kind of went wide next?
Very appropriate, yes. I do. Well, we've already talked why we want to go wide. Does it make sense to talk about results or what?
Yeah, let's talk about results, and then just back up a little bit and give some more precursor stuff before that. But
okay, so
place to start.
Right. So we still believe that long term, for us, again, putting this disclaimer in place, that going wide, and I think I definitely hear the argument for new people should go and select and all this, but it still rankles me. It still makes me say, oh, but well, whatever. Build your mailing list. We won't enter into that discussion right now. That argument, which I'm sure will turn bloody. But that said, we did want to launch onto. We also hit Smashwords, but we've never. I don't know. Never really get any action on Smashwords. But we wanted to, I want a foothold in Nook. I want a foothold in Apple, and we already knew Mark from Kobo, but I wanted to make sure that we definitely did that. And so we launched wide. We did pre-order for all of them. And here's a little self-pub trick for you, by the way, for Amazon.
Oh, I'm glad. I wanted to do this. Yeah.
Okay. So with pre-order, and this wasn't something that we discovered. Somebody sent us this tip. I wish I could remember who it was. I apologize. If you have your book up for pre-order, indies can't take pre-order reviews. You can't do that. You can't leave a review on something that's a Kindle version that's on pre-order. However, what you can do, if you have your paperback up in time through CreateSpace and the titles have paired so that they show on the same page, you can leave reviews on the paperback and they will show on both versions of the page. So we gave the Kindle version early to our Platinum readers. Those are the people. I don't know, is the link in the sidebar of sterlingandstone.net, I think?
Yeah, I think it still says become a stoner.
Okay, so we need to. That's one more thing we got to optimize. We're waiting for an author theme. But those are the people who are our members, and they get everything first, weeks in advance in this case. and we asked them if they would help us out by, if you read it, could you leave a review on the paperback? Like, you read the Kindle version, you can leave a review on the paperback. It's the same book, and a lot of them did. And so we were able to launch, when it went live, when it went from pre-order. Because, by the way, in case you're not connecting the dots here, like we wanted to Beyonce this and just drop it, but we didn't literally do that because we needed this. So we just didn't tell people. In last week's show, Libby Hawker congratulated us on our new book, and I said, wait, that's a secret. So people did find it, and we did get quite a few pre-orders just because people found it and bought it, which is great. But that allowed us to have reviews in place on Amazon, and it also we had pre-orders on all the other platforms. We also went through draft to digital for Apple. This is one of those things where I feel like I could go down a lot of side roads. Let me mention some of the highlights of the results, and then we can dissect whatever's in it. And Dave, I know you have comments or questions, so we can go into those too. Currently, right now, it's sitting at 109 in Barnes & Noble. That's in the entire store. Invasion is. And we're in the Nook Firsts. I don't even remember how you find it, but it's a we basically got some nice placement. And on Apple, we got a tweet from iBooks, which is fantastic. And we're actually on the front page of the iBooks store. So if you're watching live, if you go into iTunes and then you click on Books and you scroll down to Buzzed About, you'll see Invasion right there next to the latest Divergent book and Harper Lee's new book.
Harper Lee's long
good company.
cool.
Right, so we're in good company right there. And so that's going well. We're actually selling, if you combine the off Amazon platforms right now, we're actually selling better, I think, on Amazon than on Amazon if you combine them. And Kobo's promo, they had a March promo. If you're, they have occasional promos they send out to authors. I don't know how you get on those lists, but we're not supposed to forward those. But I think you can email people and ask, and you can submit your book to be in a promo. And so Kobo is going to have some promo next week. But to me, it's like validation of we decided not to go with Select, and I'm sure that we lost some money during this launch. I mean, it's 1 day old at this point, but whatever. On Amazon, but we feel like we're recouping it in places where we're gaining new readers for all of our stuff, because this is all connected. There was something I was going to say before turning the mic over.
The point here is that if somebody finds you on Kobo or on Barnes & Noble or on Apple, you've got your whole entire catalog for them to go through. Now, we're not optimized. Our catalog is not optimized on all channels, and it needs to be. We'll work on that. But it's not just the dollar. It's not $1 equals $1, because a dollar gained on Barnes & Noble, where that Nook reader would not find us otherwise. They flat out would not find us if they don't ever. You look at Amazon, they don't read Kindle, that's not their environment whatsoever, then it's not one for one, because we're not losing a sale on Amazon in lieu of that. We're gaining a Nook reader who is then, well, I really like that. Let me see what else they have. And, at this point, our catalog's pretty deep. A new reader who loves us is really valuable, because they'll go through and read everything, and that can really add up. You get 100 new readers like that's a lot of revenue.
Let me close that loop before handing it back over, because I just remembered what it was that I was going to say. And that is, don't consider this to be like we're reporting an event. This is an ongoing thing. So you'll see our results over time. Like I said, this is barely over 24 hours old at this point. But that said, on Amazon, it was a full price launch, so we didn't even discount it. It's a $4.99 book. And it went up and it's hovering around at 2000s in the ranking. But what I think is going to happen, and we'll see this because that has a really, really hot cover, and we've heard that more than anything else. Wow, look at that cover. What I think is going to happen is it takes a few days, maybe about a week, for the also bots to populate. So that's when I think we're going to see a resurgence. I think we're going to see a rise, and then a little bit of a dip, and then go back up. And what we're hoping, obviously, is that it continues to go up on the strength of the genre and the cover and the keywords. All that stuff. So there you go.
Got a few comments here. Christine Niles says, psyched to be here live and glad I finished Invasion earlier this week, so I know what the hell you're talking about for once. Simon Canton says, I just ran a survey among 25 authors. People who spent money on covers and editing weren't guaranteed success, but the people who spent nothing were guaranteed to earn less than $1,000 a year. Although it is a tiny sample, though, he says. Sarah Negovich, I think. I love this idea of terming investing in your book as buying cheap stock.
Mm-hmm.
And she says also, too many authors aren't willing to invest anything in their books and are shocked when they don't make money. Mike Underwood says, there's a ton going on here. Thanks for unpacking all of this strategy and tactics for Invasion, guys. I'm launching a novella series this year and taking all the notes right now.
You're very welcome.
Oh, that was easy. I thought there would be questions.
There was stuff from earlier what we said, but no real questions. So.
Did we answer the length one?
I did answer that. Somebody asked, I can't find it right now, but somebody asked how long the Invasion books were, and I said it was 309 pages.
It's about 75,000 words, and I think 308 pages in both hardback and paperback. One of the other things, and this is again, I'm realizing that the title is a little bit off. Tara wanted something to share a few days ago, so I said, well, we're going to talk about selling on Apple and Barnes & Noble and Kobo. But that we're always kind of talking about that, and we're going to talk about that more and more. But that said, one of the things that we did, and the reason that I thought of like selling on other platforms with this is we wanted to make sure we had a pre-order for the second book in the series, which is called Contact.
Oh yeah, this is important.
Up before the first one went live, because it's such a page turner that, I mean, the most common thing we're hearing is I couldn't sleep because I had to finish the book.
I burned my cookies.
I burned 2 batches of oatmeal cookies.
Did anybody ever say this about Space Shuttle?
They said I burned them in spite. Like I was so angry after reading Redacted that I burned a bunch of cookies.
No one ever has. But
the pre-order is up, but we don't have a cover yet. We will in a week or so. So we did people do cover reveals. Actually, the Harper Lee book says cover coming soon. If you look at that. But the reason I thought of this, and I'll just finish this, and then you can say what you were going to say, Sean, is one of the tips that we have about selling on Apple, and they sent us like an open letter that I will send Jacob when you get to this point in the show notes. Remind me, I'll send it to you. You can post it with the show notes. It's sort of a best practices on Apple, like they're trying to reach out. But one of the things is that pre-orders are pretty much always a good idea on Apple because they, unlike Amazon, they save all that sales rank until launch day. And so if you have 100 pre-orders, then on launch day it's like you got 100 sales right there, and you rise in the rankings. So we're making a real point to do that. And plus it disciplines us because you have a 10-day window for Amazon where you have to have that book in. And we must have screwed something up because they yelled at us about a pre-order. And I'm like, bitch, we had that handled. Why are you taking... They took it away for a day. You can't do pre-orders because you screwed something up. So you really can't touch that. You need to have the final one in 10 days before, and it forces us to be organized. Because, like, 10 days, we have to have it in advance. We can't be up to the wire.
Right.
So we're trying to do pre-orders for everything now.
Yeah, so this is a very good example. We wanted to launch... Invasion 2 on March 30th, and instead we moved it to April 9th. And we moved it to April 9th because we needed the buffer. You know, it was because of that 10 days it was too tight. So we moved it to April 9th, and we're safe on that day. But man, like we had to play ball. And so, but it's really cool. And the way Apple has it set up, it's like if you tap on, of course I did yesterday because when the children came home from school, I wanted to show them, that it was like I said, Haley, go get your iPad. I wanted to show her. With a couple of presses, Daddy's book.
I tried to show my mom, and she couldn't find it. It was such a bummer. I had to just tell her.
Awesome. So, but you click it, and Apple is very much set up for series. So you click it, and like it kind of prompted you to get Contact 2. Like right now, it's it's not out for a month, but you can get it right now. and they were telling us that you could put it up for pre-order up to a year in advance, and they actually have authors who that happens for them. You know, people do order their book a year in advance, which is very kind of cool. And so, you know, for example, Dave and I right now, we could be taking orders for Yesterday's Gone season 6, which would stress Dave out, I'm sure. But you know, it would be energizing. It'd be really cool. I mean, sure enough, we started getting contact orders yesterday when Invasion went live, and that's very exciting. That's very, very cool. And
we'll
on that,
probably put up the third one. Like, we might as well, as soon as we know for sure.
I think, yeah, we'll get the covers both at the same time probably, and just do that. And here's another good example of how this year is all about optimization and pre-optimization in some cases. So normally, you know, with Dave and I, we're pretty much, you know, what are we going to do? Dave, what do you want to do? And we kind of figure out how that harmonizes with desire versus publication calendar.
That's part of the process as well.
Yeah, totally.
You can force me to do now.
And so, but we're doing Yesterday's Gone season 6. That is officially going into production. We're going to start it pretty soon, and that is very much a pre-optimization decision, because we know that we have this successful franchise, and it's the smartest thing to do. It's a way to, you know, not just releasing the 6th one will kind of reverse optimize the other 5. We can get on Apple, and series do very well there. So we're gonna, you know, optimize the covers and the descriptions and everything for the existing 5, but then get the 6th one, you know, optimized before we write it. And the idea of, okay, we've done a really good job with our old catalog getting that stuff to market, and now we want to optimize it. We don't want to just throw new stuff out to market. We want to take what we're learning by optimizing our old stuff and really inserting that into our new, you know, philosophies when we are putting new product together.
Simon asked if we're optimizing for outside the U.S. Not sure what ways he means.
Do you mean in like as far as pricing, or I'm not quite translations? I'm not quite sure what that question means.
He said, "Don't know. Just figure you guys might have something up your sleeves." Yeah.
Well, let me insert something about optimizing. I don't know how to answer that either, other than if you made sure the price ended in 99, which I have mixed feelings about all of that, just for future-proofing reasons. But we can get to that in a minute. Is if you guys haven't gotten Nick Stevenson's program, like his free thing yet, you should, because that's where we solidified a lot of what we sort of feel and suspect about a lot of this, and he talks about all the different platforms, and it's free. The short link is selfpublishingpodcast.com/10K, 10K. But as far as optimizing outside the U.S., the only thing I can think, like I said, is making sure the price ends in 99. But I haven't been doing that, honestly.
And like I think we said a couple weeks ago, you know, the Canada prices were a lot higher, so we lowered them to be the same as the U.S. prices, just so it doesn't make it too damned expensive.
Sean is taking a long meditative sip, and when Sean is taking a sip, we're always a little bit in danger. Actually, he must not be, because he must be frozen or something. There was something I was going to say there, and I absolutely can't. I can't remember what it was.
Well, I think that there's so much here, and clearly this will go on and on and on. We will be talking about this, you know, frequently. You know, we've got another one coming out in a month, and another one a month after that, and each one should build both on what's coming and what we've already done. So, I mean, I don't know if we want to open more boxes today or kind of round up to a close. I know we're at an hour, but I think it's, again, you know, at the risk of being, you know,
yeah, I mean, a lot of this is meticulous levels of detail that you know who's happy right now are the summit attendees. Yeah, John emailed and he said something, and I said, well, you know, we'll see you in person, And I think it was him that I said we'll be able to talk about this. There's just a lot of nitty gritty that I think those people are going to be really happy to be able to talk to us about. So
well, it's also the type of stuff where we get I mean we've professed we're a little bit nervous talking about some of this because we don't want it to be taken the wrong way and have people go right, Alien Invasion 8 or whatever. Like there could be a bad idea, and when you have a smaller group like that and you can make eye contact with everybody and you can really articulate yourselves without fear of
you can let them see both your regular and decoy wallets.
Yes. I think it makes a big difference. So I think the candor is at a different level, and you can make sure that every question is answered, and it's a very different atmosphere.
So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we need to know about. I'll mention, since the topic of the show is supposed to be selling on other platforms, number one, we are sort of committing to this. I don't know whether we said this earlier, but the other project that was pre-optimized or whatever, where we're looking at a lot of commercial potential, even after doing Invasion and deciding to go wide, we sweated. We were like, well, that one can't. That one has to be select. Like it just has to be. And we've decided, no, like that's got to go wide too. And it is, these things are kind of a gut check because we know that there's a lot of juice there to be had in borrows and select. But it's a long-term decision. It's what we were saying before, like we want to kind of put our stakes in the sand, and so you'll see what happens with that project too as time rolls forward. Now this is something that I actually got from one of Nick's videos where the selfpublishingpodcast.com/10k. This is actually in one of those videos where he talks about keyword stuff on Nook and Kobo. And Nook in particular, like he did some searches. I don't want to go through the whole thing. You can check that out. But those being found on those depends in search too. And actually, one of the funny comments we heard from Nook was that with La Fleur de Blanc, Lexi's title, like, oh yeah, you're gonna have problems with search for that because nobody's gonna know what that is.
Nobody knows how to fucking spell it unless they're Canadian or French.
Right, and the new project that we have is pretty much the opposite. Quebec. And Johnny's absolutely right about the gut check here, because as much as Invasion was kind of designed as a select title, this other one still has Select's placenta on it. Like it's just so it was really supposed.
Wow, great way to put
it. It was really supposed to.
Everyone is eating while they're listening to this.
A select title, and it's not because, like we said earlier, we're buying cheap stock in ourselves, and we would probably make this other title that we'll talk about in a couple of weeks. We probably would make more in select, but only short term. Long term, we believe. So anyway, next week we've got Donovan Schur on, and that should be really, really fun. And then after that, we'll talk more. We'll talk more about this. This is big stuff, good stuff.
Dave, any final? Yeah.
Well, we had one comment. Joseph Medina says, "Well, I understand 12 if I missed 1 through 11."
Awesome.
We just do away with the main part of the book and just go right to the sequel number.
Yeah.
It was like that movie
called 1. This book's called 2.
I did want to update, though. I think I mentioned last week that we do a BookBub promo on Crash, and that went live earlier this week, and it got up to number 2 in horror overall, number 1 suspense horror or thriller horror or whatever. But it did really well, the promo.
What was the overall Amazon? I saw 90. Did it get higher than that?
Yeah, I think it got up to 60 something. I don't remember. It got up nice, so I was happy. And also we had a lot of what do you call it?
Opt-ins?
Opt-ins, yeah, for the email, and that was awesome. And also a lot of emails from people that like read it immediately and loved the story, and I like that because to me it's like such like a personal sort of story, and that people emailed me about it. Like that's kind of like, I like that when you connect with the readers. So that was awesome to hear from a whole bunch of new people that didn't even know who we were.
And one thing to note on that too is that we knew the BookBub promo was coming out, so we didn't just let it happen. We updated the front matter. We updated the front matter, and we made sure the list was there. And Dave usually groans about stuff like that, but he didn't this time. He was like, let's get it done.
No.
And then he was like, okay, are these good numbers? You know, he's very much on top of it right now. And I think that's the whole Amazon not using you thing, is you want to make sure that if you have a promo coming up, really leverage it. And I think that it's very easy for authors to just say, okay, my big benefit on this is sales. And that's just such a small part of it. You can't just be done with the sales. It's how do I get more readers into my space that I can communicate with and tell them about the next time I have a book. Because
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say that the best part about this was somebody had left a review saying how Crash was so awesome, and it didn't have profanity and sex and stuff like that. Like they thought that was a positive, and what they're getting when they sign up for our mailing list is Yesterday's Gone. So yeah, I'm wondering if they're gonna come back and redact that review.
It's very possible.
They tricked me.
Actually, this is. I'm glad that Sean mentioned that about the mailing list and the front matter. I know we mentioned it generally, but with the reason. So, like I said, Fat Vampire is at 99 cents. It's been over 2,000 in the past under 24 hours, which number of sales, and so that's really great. But that's the whole thing. Like that's when I did the partial before the 1 through 4, then I could count on people buying 5 and 6. And so there's a tendency to be like, well, I just discounted the whole thing. And I may be able to say, and when I say I mean we. Fat Vampire is my name is on it, but that's a Sterling and Stone property. But we kind of shot our wad. Like maybe we won't recoup. By the way, we already have. Like we've already clearly recouped what was spent on the ad. But what if we didn't? And the answer sort of is, well, number one is mailing list signups. We basically said, we have this promotion over here for this closed thing that kind of doesn't have anything to do with anything else. Like even they're, kind of vampire sort of creatures in other things that we do, but there's nothing like that. It's Unicorn Western is probably the closest, but even that isn't close. So, but it's the type of book. It's like, do you like this? So we have a sign up to join our mailing list in the front and in the back. And if you look at the Fat Vampire, it's called the Big Fat Box Set, all 6 of them. If you look at that right now, it's on any of the platforms. It's on, although Apple is squirrely about updating, and I don't know that there's updated in time. But the other 3 big ones contains a link. It says get Invasion, and so we have no visibility there. But my hope is that basically saying we have this one promo for something over here that how do we get the most juice out of it? And this was one of the answers, was just try to drive traffic over in the same way you would say, the sequel is discounted or something. It's where can we drive this traffic? Anyway, well, that can be it. If you guys
you're a 56 now. That's cool.
Right, it was 42 is the highest I saw, and it's been in the top 100 for about a day.
857 pages for 99 cents. Go get it. I read a lot of the first one, and I liked it a lot. So
did you get past?
And those are
What?
He said, did you pass the wedding scene? Those are digital pages too, because there's no print equivalent of the 6. So like in print, it would probably be like 1,200 pages or something like that. Actually, let me add as a closing shot that I started to say something about Invasion in one of our story meetings. It was a comment that somebody had made about a character. And Dave was like, whoa, hold on, spoiler alert. And I just kind of looked at him funny. He said, well, I'm still reading it. I went, you're reading it? You're reading it?
Yeah.
So Dave is reading
Invasion, and I like it.
So that's a coup.
Well, yeah, I ought to read the story you stole from me, you fucker.
Which one?
Well, I think this is Fat Vampire, I inspired you, but it wasn't a story I was writing. This was,
oh my God, I just realized
actually
that
plotted out the beats to the beginning.
Until Cursed, you hadn't, the only stories you'd touched were the ones that were inspired by you or that I stole from you, right? Like you read the wedding scene in in Unicorn Western. You read part of Fat Vampire. You read, you love the first scene of The Beam. We all know that. and now Invasion. So that's great.
Well,
Okay, wait.
It's a curiosity though that I have. I'm curious how something that either I inspired or that we'd started or we're going to work on, like The Beam we were going to work on, how it changed from what I would have done. I like to see how different people treat similar material or
All right,
ideas.
Johnny, I have the next two Robin Sands projects because
Yesterday's gone.
No,
Yesterday's over. We don't want to get into
yesterday's weird. We pitched 6 things to 47 North, and they picked 2, and another one of them was The Beam, and another one of them was Invasion. There's 2 left. You want them?
Let's fucking touch them.
Dave Sloppy Seconds. All right, so are we done then?
That's what the box set will be called.
Dave Sloppy Seconds box set. So obviously keep an eye on all of this stuff. Yeah, well, we got to get to Better Off Under. There's some very important shit happening there. Keep an eye on all this stuff, guys. I will remind you that the deadline for the Colonist registration, the Colonist Summit, is March 15th, and that there are payment plans there. So it's you don't have to pay all at once. But there are 3 slots left if you want to get in on that. It's sterlingandstone.net/colonist, and I'm sure that this sort of stuff will be a large
colonist or plural
so
colonist.
Stay tuned next week. We'll have Donovan Shearer on. He's our illustrator for Filthy Fairy Tales and adult video for Lexi's Line, and lots of other good stuff. So we will see you next week.